Hello and welcome to the Bookshelf Odyssey. My name is Art, and I am the host of this channel, as well as the Bookshelf Odyssey podcast and a cozy Christmas podcast. So you might say that today I'm guest hosting on my own channel, if that makes sense. But today I want to talk about and start a series of videos talking about my favorite Christmas book of all time, A Christmas Carol. This year is its 180th anniversary. I did not have a channel or anything when it hit its 175th anniversary, and I just realized that just the other day that this is a pretty significant anniversary for my all-time favorite book. So I'm hoping to do a series of just short videos that I'll release throughout December on my channel to help celebrate, to talk about a little more in depth what I love about this book, why it means so much to me, what are my favorite parts, my favorite quotes, my favorite movies, just all about A Christmas Carol. So if that's something that would interest you, I'd encourage you to subscribe to this channel so you can stay on top of all the videos I have planned for this book. I mentioned my Christmas podcast as well because I will be sharing this on both of my social media accounts for both my Christmas podcast as well as my booktube account. The reason why I don't have them all in one channel is because I do Christmas stuff year round, and I know not everybody wants that. And so I want to have a channel separate from that, just so if you really want that, 24/7 Christmas spirit, it has its own separate channel. But I'll make sure to link that. I'd love to see you over there. I mostly just post podcast episodes over there, but occasionally I'll have a Christmas related video or a conversation on that side of things. But I thought I would just put it on here, my main channel. And I think the channel that this will fit nicely with what I want to do with this channel. All that to say, let's talk about A Christmas Carol. A Christmas Carol was written and published in 1843. Now, if you have seen the movie The Man Who Invented Christmas, then you have a general idea of how the story was written. Now, some of that is made up for, film purposes and things, and we understand that. But I think for the most part, that film gets it fairly accurate as far as movies go. Now, there were, of course, some creative license taken and things like that, but it wasn't bad. Dickens had this idea of wanting to write a story or to do something to help with the poor. A report had just come out detailing the high rate of child labor and the awful conditions that children worked in, and he just felt compassion for them and wanted to do something for them, to help the cause. He was going to write like a pamphlet or a lecture, but then he got this idea to write a story, that a story would be more powerful, would carry a bigger punch to it. And I couldn't agree more. The story is a plea for people to look beyond themselves, to see how they can help their fellow man in their struggle, in their journey. And so it's in my mind, it's one of the greatest books ever written. Even though it's a Christmas story, it's cozy, and it's got scary moments, it's got cozy moments, it's got heartfelt moments, it's got everything in it. And yet underneath it all is this powerful message to help those, to show kindness to others who are suffering. And it's a remarkable book. So yeah, Dickens wrote it in about 6 weeks' time. And I always joke that, for those of us who like to wait until the last minute to do things, we now have precedents that sometimes that really accomplishes something great. So there you are. And Dickens ended up funding for the book to be published all on his own. He wanted it to be a nice copy, a nice edition, just beautifully made, but also sold for very cheap. So anyone could afford it. Real quick, all I wanted to do today is just introduce this book. If you haven't read it, go out and read it. Just do what you can to get this story in your mind, because it is fantastic. You won't regret reading it. That, in my opinion. I think this is a great place to start with Dickens. You've probably seen a movie or some version of it, whether on a TV show, a TV movie, just some way you've ingested this story. So you have the bare bones already going into it. And that's going to help you in understanding Dickens and understanding this story. And if you're interested in reading more about how Dickens wrote A Christmas Carol, I would recommend a couple for you. One is called The Man Who Invented Christmas, which the movie was loosely based on. It's nonfiction. It's written by Standiford, and it's a very entertaining and educational read. I really enjoyed reading it. I felt like it gave me a good historical, background for the story. There's another one you could get, The Lives and Times of Ebenezer Scrooge by Paul R. Davis, which really takes a deep dive and academic look at the story of A Christmas Carol. It's very, very interesting. And then there's another book called, if you more prefer movies, there's a book about all of the Christmas Carol adaptations. I forget the title of it offhand, but I'll leave a picture of it up here and then in the show notes. And then there was another one I read too that I can't remember, but as you can tell, I've done some important research here. And of course, if you haven't read the book, get the book and read it. This edition has an introduction by Michael Slater, which is why I wanted to get this, because Michael Slater, I think, is Dickens's best biographer. He's written several books about Dickens, including a masterful biography, which I would highly recommend. Or, if you want to know more about the context, pick up a Dickens biography by anyone and read the events happening in the year 1843, and you'll get an idea of, some of the historical context for the story. I think that historical context only enhances my enjoyment of this book. If you're more fiction bent, you can read Mr. Dickens and His Carol. As far as the story goes, it's fine, but it gets so much wrong historically that I couldn't handle it. I was about ready to throw the book across the room. And I just couldn't do it. So in any case, it's there if you want to read it, if that's your thing, but I can't recommend it. For myself, this is a book not for me, but I know people have enjoyed it, and I acknowledge I'm very biased when I come to this story. So take that for what it's worth. This 5 minutes has turned into 15. I will let you go. So until next time, God bless us, everyone. Take care.